Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm helping you level up your communication skills. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about how to engineer an abundance mindset. Engineer. This word can be used as a noun, aka a profession. Engineer. This word can be used as a verb, to engineer something. I love when this word is used as a verb, mainly because it provides the perfect guidance for the mind to move with intent, direction, and to channel all the thoughts to problem solve. The question is, can we engineer our mind towards abundance? Of course. When I was first moving from Bangladesh to the United States of America, there were a lot of different rules that I needed to understand. And one of the biggest rules that a lot of these kindergarteners would follow was the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule was basically anytime someone would drop a piece of their food, the other classmates would start a countdown of 5, 4, 3 to get the kid to pick up the food, wipe it off, and eat it. You see, a lot of these kindergarteners dubbed 5 seconds the safe time to still eat their food. I thought this was the most ridiculous rule that I ever heard, but what I did notice was that all the other kids in my kindergarten followed this rule religiously. Well, as a few days went on of me being a kindergartner, one day I'm sitting in the lunchroom table, and it just so happens that my chicken nugget falls out of my hand and lands on the floor. I saw that this kid to the left of me noticed, and he brought awareness to the whole issue. He's like, "Hey, Armani dropped his chicken nugget." And all the other kids were like, 5, 4, 3. And before even having much time to respond, I dive onto the floor, pick up the chicken nugget, wipe it off, and I eat it. All the other kids start clapping like I won something big. Well, needless to say, the whole 5-second rule was now a rule that I too followed, especially as a kindergartner, and I've completely forgot when I outgrew out of this rule. But I do want you to know, I outgrew out of this rule. If you ask me nowadays, what would I do if I drop a chicken nugget? I'll tell you that I'll pick it up and throw it in the trash. I don't care how many people nowadays are following the 5-second rule, it's not going to be me. The question is, what happened? Because if you think about it, when I was a kindergartner, I had a scarcity mindset towards chicken nuggets since I followed the 5-second rule. Because the 5-second rule, when you break it down, is built off of a scarcity mindset. It thinks that, oh, well, there's not enough food out there. If you drop something, you need to eat it, no matter how dirty it is, blah, blah, blah. It's a scarcity mindset as a whole. But nowadays, I have an abundance mindset regarding chicken nuggets. If I drop one and I really want another chicken nugget, I will go to McDonald's, I'll go to Burger King, and I'll pick another one up. There are plenty of chicken nuggets to go around. Think about it. What changed in the mindset? But more importantly, what this shows is that a mindset shift is possible. If you zoom out in context to your life and just look at your life from childhood all the way up until now, you'll notice that there were plenty of moments when you transitioned from scarcity to abundance. And unfortunately, the opposite is true as well. There's a lot of parts of your life where you went from abundance to scarcity. Sometimes that could be a good thing. Like you having a scarcity mindset towards time, that's a good thing. But one thing that you notice from my story is that there was never a moment where I said, I noticed that this is a big problem of me having a scarcity mindset towards chicken nuggets, and I want to engineer a different future. That didn't happen. It's just something that naturally happened. It was left up to chance, and luckily, I went in the right direction. But that's not how an engineer moves. An engineer moves with controlling as many variables as they can. And that's the whole purpose of today's video. How can you intentionally cause yourself to progress towards an abundance mindset and not leave so many things to chance? Ready for it? It's to create networks and to make yourself aware of it. If you miss either one of these variables, then you aren't engineering. You're leaving things up to chance. What is a network? A network, in its most basic understanding, is when we have nodes and they are linked in a unique fashion. Nodes are individual entities and links are the connections. Once the nodes and the links are interconnected in a unique fashion, it leads to an emergent property of a network. Let's talk about a few examples. How about your social circle, your social network? Who are the nodes? Well, there are childhood friends, there are coworkers, there are family members, there are acquaintances, right? These are all the different nodes. And they all have connections with you in different ways, which leads to the emergent property of a social network. What about a book? Let's say you're a published author. Did you create a network? Of course. Think about it. You are someone who has different ideas, nodes, and you are able to link those nodes in a unique fashion, which led to the emergent property of your book. Another example could be a calculator. A calculator has buttons, has wires, has that big plastic frame, has the screen, all different nodes, and you connect it, you link it in a unique fashion, and it leads to the emergent property of a calculator. When you start to think of it in this simple context of a network simply having nodes and links, you start to realize that, whoa, I actually created a lot of different networks in my life. So why don't I have an abundance mindset? Because you're not doing the second part, bringing awareness to this. And now awareness basically just means that you're bringing focus into you being a creator. Because that's what all creators understand. They understand the art of creating networks. And when you start bringing awareness to you creating networks, your mindset slowly starts to evolve. Because you start changing your mindset from thinking the world is to the world is becoming, which is a completely different mindset. When you think the world just is, that's a fixed mindset. That is not an abundance mindset. When you think the world is becoming, it's evolving into something greater, something much bigger. This is when you start understanding what a network is truly about. Because for all networks out there, it's nothing that is finite. It's something that is constantly evolving. Let's say your social network. Do you still have the same friends now that you had 15 years ago? No. A lot of the connections either strengthened or a lot of the connections loosened up. So a network can either evolve or, unfortunately, devolve. But what you start understanding is that for a network, it's constantly in the process of becoming. Wait, Armani, what about my book? Once I wrote it once and it's done, that means it's done. The book just is. It is no longer becoming. False. This is false in two premises. One, if you keep reading the book in your own way, right? A book that you wrote, you read it now versus you reading it 15 years from now, I guarantee you the book is going to be completely different in your mind's eye. And likewise, to your audience, each person is getting a different interpretation of your book based off of their own memory banks and their own experiences. So you can't say the book is finite. The book is constantly in the process of becoming. So that's what all people with abundance mindset understands. They not only create networks, but they keep making themselves aware of the different elements of the network that they just created. You'll be surprised how much this will shift your worldview as a whole. Not too long ago, I was waiting on the road and there was a stop light, a red light, and I started to notice that no one else was on the road on the other side where it was green. The stoplight was red for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I started to think that the light broke. There's no one else driving on the other side. Why is it green for them? And why is it red for me? I started to wonder that. And that's when a realization just happened. It was so funny because there was nothing that was physically stopping me from overtaking that red light and still driving on the road. There was nothing that was physically stopping me. But mentally, that red light simply meant you stop. You do not drive until the light turns green. And what I started to understand was this whole situation that I'm in right now is in a network in itself. How many parties do you think were involved in getting that street light up? There was the technology company, whoever designed that. There are the police officers. Let's say there are individuals that are not abiding by the red light. Police officers are another node that needs to get involved. There's, I'm sure, governments, legislatures, a lot of different parties that were involved in getting this network set up. The unfortunate truth is people with a scarcity mindset, they just live in networks, but they have no clue what it's like to create a network. When you create a network, no matter how small, whether it's just a journal that you have to yourself that you keep building on, and you keep bringing awareness to it over and over again, you start realizing how much of the world is networks. And the more networks that you're seeing in the world around you, you start conditioning your mind to start thinking the world is becoming. Not the world just is, the world is becoming. It is evolving or devolving. And when you start to present your mind with two simple possible scenarios, evolve or devolve, that's when you are much more likely to evolve. You start connecting your mind to the whole process of evolution, and that's how an advancing mindset is unlocked. An advancing mindset is an abundance mindset. It's a world that is constantly evolving, is constantly creating networks, and constantly finding new ways to connect the nodes and the links. So you want to ask yourself right now, when was the last time you created a network? And let's say you did create a network. When did you bring awareness to it? How much did you learn from this network? Because trust me, I guarantee you, just creating that one little network is going to teach you a lot about different networks of the natural world. Whether it's the stop sign, whether it's other people that are writing books, or one of the most complex network of them all, the human mind. Understand one network, unlock abundance mindset from that, engineer abundance mindset from that, and surprisingly, the whole natural world is going to start making more and more and more sense. If today's episode helped you and you learned a thing or two about having an abundance mindset in terms of communication skills and just your mind as a whole, be sure to drop that like for me right on below, and you shared this video on your social media of choice. Thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.